Softneta is a company which was founded in 2007. Since the beginning, we worked exclusively in the medical visualization field. Our first viewer was based on flash technology. In 2015, we migrated to new technologies. So in front end, we changed flash by WebGL to be able to render data very fast and to be scalable for the users count. And also we migrated the backend from PHP and Apache to the Java. So now our product fully migrated and prepared for the scalable usage for the millions or billions even users. And today our discussions will be about very scalable solutions which some of our partners try to build. And one example of it is our colleagues Collective Minds Radiology. So it's fully zero footprint viewer, which could be run on any existing device. It's a phone, tablet, PC, any operating system. Why now the cloud became so important and what changed over the time on the market? So as you see in curve, so two parameters is drastically changing. It's a number of users which need to access to medical images and medical treatments. So if in the past it mainly was doctors and specialists, so today's we need to provide this access to the patients, doctors, insurance, national e-health systems. So as you see from 2014, these numbers grow drastically and come to the billions. So another very important part of it is the amount of data which you need to supervise as a doctor, as a specialist. So it's grow even 4 times faster than people which need to access, because you need to see also historical data. The device produced twice more data every year. So these two challenges is really changing the industry and what the people expect from the viewers and from the systems. That's why the cloud became also, I would say, the new trend. Of course, we speak about it already several years, but with new situation, it became more important, I would say, getting more bigger role in the medicine. And I believe that it's just future, because these situations could come back in next years, and we need to have solution where we can get treatments, we can get answers remotely and scalable. So with all these situations, the need of a scalable solutions is growing on the market. Where is Softneta located in the value chain? So Softneta positioning ourselves as a technology partner. Most of our sales going to another vendors, where we helping them to overcome some technological issues with the viewing, not necessarily the images. It could be also signal data, like tonometers data, like pressure, other data related to medical treatments, and the way how we help them to transit the data to the end user to do a diagnosis, to get a second opinion. So Softneta tried to build a technology which could be used by any vendor which have a problem with medical visualization. So they just need to know the name of Softneta and the product name and just try to ask us how we can help them. And I'm sure that we will find some solution for their problems. A little bit how the product is constructed. So product is constructed in such fashion that it could be integrated to any existing archive or data set of medical images, because it's contain three standard ways how we can access this data. One is through database or file system. So you just need to specify for our viewer where is data located, and our viewer can open it. Another way is through VADO protocol or through DICOM query protocol. So with this unique set of integration methods, we are able to work with any existing archive in the world on any infrastructure. So this gives us flexibility on the finding solutions. Together with that set of features, our viewer also support maintaining not only one archive system, but several systems can be connected with different methods. So for example, one archive could be connected through direct file system, another could be connected through direct database integration, another through VADO, another through DICOM query protocol, and all of them could be integrated in information system. So then the information system could provide the needed data to the doctor just through one click, and doctor could automatically be guided to any needed archive to show this data. So shortly about our solutions and how we build it, and I'm giving word now to Anders to present CMRAD, and then we continue about our particular discussions about cloud use.
Okay, everyone, I hope you can hear me. So I'm not Anders Nordell, I'm Pär Kragsterman, the CTO of Collective Minds, but thanks for the introduction, Vytautas. Very nice of you. I will go ahead and share my screen, and I thought I would present a little bit, just a short background of our company and what we do, but really dig in and showcase the product itself and the platform itself, because this is really what I think best explains the new dimensions to what we try to achieve here at Collective Minds. Okay, so yeah, we're Collective Minds Radiology. We are a fairly young company, started in 2017, and we build a collaborative workspace for radiology and medical imaging. Very early on this journey, we did a discovery of the available viewers out there, and quite quickly selected Softneta and the MedDream viewer out of everything we could see, really based on probably three dimensions. One was the architecture itself of what we could see in the back end, and its ability to grow with us as a company. The speed of a lot of the focus from Vytautas and team had gone into the speed of loading and making sure that could scale on a web-based global setting. And really the third one being how the images are being rendered in the front end, which the technology that has been chosen there by Softneta is WebGL. So it's really taking advantage of any GPU power that you may have in the front end that's rendering. So just as a little bit of a background to why we selected MedDream to begin with. But we as a company, we build a cloud-based collaboration platform really for medical professionals, mainly radiologists, to have the ability to collaborate, consult, and get access to new digital tools such as AI or human expertise in the form of a global collaboration network. Let me jump forward. So at its core, it's really three components. So this is a CE marked medical device, according to the Medical Device Directive product. It allows for mobile and web collaboration around medical imaging. I will be showing this here in a second. It makes much more sense once you see the product. We really attempt to connect a global network of expertise, and that expertise can be either human or machine-based, but really starting from the human side, where doctors can connect in and really ask the global network or the global team for advice and help around the images that are being presented. And we are quite proud that we do offer this in a quite unique way from a patient privacy perspective. So the whole platform was designed with really GDPR as one of the leading stars. So I will talk a little bit further about how we apply that when the data leaves the hospitals through what we call the Collective Minds proxy. But basically the platform consists of the web. There is a mobile app that handles all notifications out to doctors, and then we have, of course, the professional viewer from Softneta MedDream. Right. So on this platform, what we try to provide is really services in the form of three spaces. We call them workspace, research, and education and quality. Workspace is the space where a doctor comes in and experiences everything first. The whole collaborative suite is free of charge for any radiologist globally. They can simply contact us or sign up on the website and get going. On top of that basic collaboration service that enables to collaborate around tricky image findings, then we do enable a bunch of premium services on top of that, such as subspecialty consultation, second opinion, AI access on the research front, academic and clinical trials. So this is really when we start structuring the data more in cohorts and other forms of data sets, and we enable radiologists to provide in a structured fashion input to such research projects. And then on the education and quality side, we talk about clinical audits, and we have an educational module that enables for testing of, let's say, resident students or resident radiologists on the same kind of cases that the platform handles. Again, all of this will become a lot clearer once I jump into the platform itself. So we're roughly 15 people working full-time today. We have, of course, our head office in Stockholm, Sweden, and then we have a tech headquarters in Barcelona here in Spain that I myself are leading. But basically all clinical, commercial, and leadership roles and effort is happening out of the Stockholm office, and then we build the technology itself and the platform from the Spanish office. This is my last slide before we jump into the demo, so I promise not to bore you with more PowerPoints. This is a high-level view of the architecture, how the whole thing hangs together. So you can see down at the left-hand side, basically a connected clinic, where you have, in this case, a doctor radiologist with a question mark against a particular patient case. So what would happen in this case is that the doctor takes the decision to consult the Collective Minds Radiology network. The data is first of all anonymized in the Collective Minds proxy sitting down here, and it also enables for full traceability to that anonymized data set as it's passed out into the cloud, meaning that the classification according to GDPR would be that the data is pseudonymous. However, from any third party's perspective, it's really anonymous data we're dealing with. It's just that we have this one single tracer back to the original hospital so that we can trace the data. Inside of the cloud, we have three main components: the viewer, which is the MedDream viewer from Softneta. We have the Collective Minds core, which some of you may have been on the call earlier this week with OEMs. This is actually an Orthanc server that handles the full data set in terms of DICOM data, and therefore you can also then imagine that there is a direct API connectivity between the viewer and the OEMs core. And then of course we have the full Collective Minds web. This is really where all the social interaction and case tracking and authorization, authentication, and all of these things happens. An interesting part of the CM web is that it has both an API and specifically built adapters so that it can enable interaction with, for example, AI third parties. We can link with all kinds of third-party systems. We handle all the notifications going back to users out this way as well. And then at the top of everything, you can see our medical doctors, radiologists working with the platform in the form of annotations, clinical input, or if it's a, let's say, research project, in some cases there is local analysis happening outside of the platform as well. I will jump into a quick demo. Okay, so this is Collective Minds Radiology, CMRAD.com. We are now physically in Frankfurt on AWS. The platform is fully built on very modern web technology, so it's ready to be deployed to further global data centers as our user and customer base requires it. We do, however, intend to stay on AWS. So since this is a medical device, I have to log in order to get access to any of the data. That is also a requirement out of GDPR in order to do anything like this. So the first thing I see once I'm logged in, this is what we call the case feed. So here we can see, based on my interest and my groups I'm a member of, or playlists or case lists that I happen to be following, I can see what the latest things coming my way are. This is a personalized view of what's going on in the network. So I thought I would show you two cases. Really, the first one, this came in late last month, and is a good demonstration of the sort of collaborative approach to the whole platform. So the title is Vytautas from Frederick van Rietvelde out of Belgium, I believe. Here we see the doctor in this case has selected two key images at the time we enter the case, and you can see that actually there have been some voting around how educational this is. There are 17 people following the case, and it's been shared 64 times. And it's a fairly simplistic question around acute onset right-sided pain to exclude appendicitis. And then there's a short discussion which follows this, and after which Ahmed Othman from Tübingen University in Germany basically says, I believe this is Meckel diverticulitis. Okay. And you can also see that his confidence level is very high, and there are multiple other doctors agreeing to this diagnosis. So how can that diagnosis actually happen? It's all behind this open review mode button, which is the API integration with Softneta MedDream. Now you can see MedDream loading. And in this case, we can now see the full stacks of images here. As you will have seen from maybe previous demos, the viewer loads on the fly anything it requires, but you can also ask it to load whatever happens to be the slices you want to look at. I'll just show you that. So I can load on the fly like this, or I can ask it to download the whole content. And now what's really cool, this is really where WebGL plays its part, that the scrolling through these stacks are extremely smooth for being in a web setting. All the tooling is obviously available for the doctors as they review the case here. We could make annotations or marquee images, or even do MTR reformatting of the stacks. And as we get back then to the collaborative space, it's ready for providing additional input should I wish to do that. So this is the basic flow of collaboration as such. I wanted to show you one case as well, where to get an early flavor of what the AI integration looks like. So we have a case further down here from an early test from a hospital that just connected one of our AI engines. It's actually not our AI engine, it is from a partner company called Lycometrics that you may have heard about. So in this case, the case has been uploaded in the same way through the Collective Minds proxy. We can actually see here on the timeline view that we're dealing with two different studies from April and July. And then what the platform does is that it detects what kind of data and what kind of patient this is, and it's hence offering, in this case, two different AI engines, one being IcoBrain MS and IcoBrain Dementia. So we can see that the MS has already been executed, and now we do treat also AI engines as users on the platform. So you can see here that IcoBrain MS has answered twice. In this case, actually, the first answer is a failure. And as with any human user, I could then go in and follow this bot, if we want to call it that, or whatever I wanted. And actually, the second, belonging to the second study that you saw up here, has processed correctly, and we do have a response. So we can see how the AI is posting a couple of key images, just like any human could do, and then finally a report. And if I go into review mode, of course, we would see the same, then, that all the new data that the AI engine has processed and provided now gets included, and it's clearly visible here in the DICOM data as well. I will just show you. I believe it's in the oops. Here we go. So if I scroll all the way down, we can see here the this is the annotated or segmented data set, and then towards the end we have the report coming back from Micrometrics. And finally, because there was a failure here, and this is really something that we believe a lot in, the AI industry in general needs to become more humanized, if I could call it that. It will require a lot of explaining and testing and getting the understanding and so on around what, you know, did I ask the right question? Did the processing go correctly? Or if I see failures, why did that happen? So we do also see the platform playing such a role really in terms of integrating between a hospital and AI providers, current and future ones. So here you can see a set of comments back from, in this case, the CMRAD moderator, where there is feedback from the icometric support around why did this first report fail, so that there can be improvements on the protocols used at the hospitals and so on. Okay, and with that, I think I'm done. Thanks, Vytautas.
Many thanks, Pär, for such nice introduction with examples of how your platform works. I believe for many of us it was a very good feeling to see the future of medicine, I would say, which you are making true. So my first question is to you, a little bit historical. You already said a little bit about how you chose, but maybe it's shortly, could you remember how you decided to start CMRAD? Because I know that you was friends from the past when you started. I believe for many of attendees it would be nice to hear short your story, how you started CMRAD.
Absolutely. So there are 4 founders to the company. It's Professor Lennart Blomqvist from Karolinska University Hospital in Stockholm. We have two gentlemen from General Electric. Originally, that's Anders Nordell, our CEO, who should have been presented, or who I'm standing in for today. And then we have Johan Norling, also previously from General Electric. And then myself, with a very long background of building global scale IT systems for different industries. It really all started out of a conversation between especially the Stockholm-based individuals, so Lennart, Anders, and Johan, with the Swedish Society of Radiology, that over many years had an internal discussion. How could collaboration within radiology be drastically improved, especially when crossing large geographical borders? So really the original idea came out of that discussion, and then we sort of imagined what would it look like if we took this to a global scale, and we started the journey from there.
Yes, and next question. I understand that probably in your team technology, how to say, engine was you, Pär. So but how you founded Softneta, how you founded our viewer short, and this maybe experience also is valuable for our participants.
Yeah, I think as we started building the platform early days, when we were still architecting it, coming up with a minimal viable product, what it would look like, we did very early on, we figured out that building both a PAC system and a viewer is not a good idea if we want this journey to move at a reasonable pace. So early on, we figured out that we would need partners in these 2 spaces. So we started scanning the market, what was available, and I think we shortlisted it down to about 4 different options, out of which Softneta MedDream was one. And then the choice really came out of those three pillars that I mentioned previously, that we looked at the internal architecture of how the product was built and its ability to continue to scale and grow with us. We looked at all the work that had gone into ensuring that the experience and the loading times, even in a web-based setting, would be very, very good. and finally how the rendering on the front end was done to make sure we could really provide the absolute best user experience. So from these three pillars, I think those were the main reasons why we choose MedDream.
Yes, and I would like to add that at this time when we start collaborate with CMRAD, I was sure that our product is made for the cloud, but thanks to Pär, I really understood that still how many work we need to do just to fully fit to the cloud architecture, because of course our viewer was quite well working on virtual machines if you set up in the cloud and everything goes well, so Pär could say. So for beginning it was quite good, but by start working with CMRAD, we also achieved a lot in the, I would say, in the encouraging and also some even financial support to achieve some functions from our partners to more close be integrated in the cloud architecture. I would say the Docker feature which we launched now, the licensing, the extendability. So these features is come together with collaboration with CMRAD, and I'm very proud to say that, you know, all collaborations speed up both partners, I would say, if it's right collaboration. So we was also very lucky that you founded us and decided to work with us and move this up and make us better. So my next question, Pär, is how you believe, but how medicine is changed. I assume that most of radiologists already heard about CMRAD in the Europe, and this is quite even in Lithuania. I know that our university was 1 month winning award by the best consultants. So how you believe this collaborative spirit over the medicine will progress in the future?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to really how we build a platform internally and the service we try to offer. So everyone has heard of AI, of course. It's a massive industry that's building out right now, and that right now it's a young industry, and it's still not consolidated in any shape or form. Everyone has a little bit their own view of, you know, how AI should be accessed and provided, distributed to healthcare. At the same time, we have, you know, thousands or hundreds of thousands of brilliant radiologists out there that will need both each other's help in this very global online setting, but also get the best use out of this new industry that is possible. So what we really try to do, and what we also believe the future of especially radiology is that AI must become another set of tools in the toolbox for a radiologist when treating a patient. And depending on, you know, what's going on, you would pick, you know, a hammer or a saw from that toolbox. But the only way to really learn and get used to all of these new tools is to have very easy access to them, sort of have a test bed to just go in, process your own patient, your own data in a safe, secure environment, so that we can build trust and confidence, and we can really also enable that collaborative, let's say, support between both industry and healthcare. So yeah, we believe that the future is very much about collaboration, and it's really a two-sided collaboration with both humans being the overall decision makers, but then a whole new set of tools coming into the AI toolbox.
Yes, very many thanks for sharing your ideas. And also another question which I know even from several of our projects, I believe it could be interesting for audience. Did you see also, yes, CMRAD now is a public service which anyone can join and share the experience, but I know that you're also having some discussions and even discussing with more bigger universities to create also private CMRAD platforms for the universities, just to work with more disclosed information. And what is your opinion about these, like I would say, islands? and how they could collaborate in the future between each other?
I think from our experience, it's sort of a must to get going. From everyone's benefits and perspective, probably the fully open collaboration is the best one to sort of spread expertise across the globe. But we also fully understand that that's not always wanted or required, or possibly not even legal in certain settings. So what we do enable is that there are completely private environments, private groups within the platform that can be set up between one university hospital, or a set of hospitals, a region, or a cross-country region. It doesn't matter who the participants are, as long as we enclose it in one such group. So I do think absolutely groups have a role to play, but if we look at the sort of benefit of patients everywhere, really the ability to escalate cases to the global forum is probably a vital function.
Yes, I understand, because in my opinion also what this openness and the global scale gives the doctors the very fast answer, but as you said, probably in some cases where you need very precise, very you need to reveal also patient demographical data, so probably it's unavoidable to use some private data which is isolated from the global scale. And I'm very curious how your platform will evolve over the time, and I believe that the sky is limit you with your ideas, because this, I would say, that your project started it in exactly right time, when people know each other, and especially now when it's travels to go to do symposiums is so limited. So your platform is like standing in this dark and trying to give a light for people. So I'm very proud that our small influence on this platform is also is made. So Pär, maybe something from this AI collaboration part. How you believe it will be the future? Because you know that AI now mainly is driven by very small companies which trying to overcome one medical issue. For example, they working on lung, on spine, on bones. And how you see because doctors they need to process this data in various angles, because they need to search for all illnesses. How you see the future of artificial intelligence? Is it will be always collaboration with many companies to achieve needed result, or some of them will dominate? What is your opinion?
Yeah, good question. I don't think I have all the answers, but a couple of perspectives for sure. As I said before, this industry today is very young. As you said, there are many small new companies that have come out with brilliant ideas, typically out of university hospitals or universities across the world, and are now 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, attempting to build a business around it. The technology landscape is very heterogeneous. So there are no standards well, there are very few standards, I shouldn't say no, around how to integrate, how these APIs work, where the data should be stored, what the anonymization processes are, and so on. So there's for sure a lot of harmonization and standardization to happen to this industry, and it will probably go hand in hand with a certain, let's say, clustering of these companies as well. So maybe some will be bought, and some will be very successful, and so on. Yeah, from the radiologist perspective, it will really be, right now this industry has a set of tools that can address a very specific question, a very narrow question. So the radiologist's job to use that tool becomes to take the patient data and bring it into a very narrow, questionable, or very narrow area where the AI can do its job. Sort of, that's when you use your hammer as a tool. And if you do that correctly, you bring the right data under the right circumstances to the very right position, the AI can help. But it by no mean can it help in all circumstances and on very broad questions, which is typically the case for patients. So I think really the radiologist's job over time will change, that many of these mundane, repetitive, sort of these narrow questions that need to be executed many times will become tools in a toolbox, and the radiologist's job will lift up one level and say, okay, what other data, what other questions do I need to ask about or bring in order to handle this patient the best possible way? And that's sort of the general direction. Then where that takes us beyond a couple of years, then I have less to say probably.
Yes, I believe but the radiologist will always be driver in the car. So, but car could have different engines. Now it's have workstations which process data, and he still needs to supervise all the sets of data. In future, I believe the processing of the data, some initial diagnosis will be made by AI, but final diagnosis will be always, I believe, at least 10 years driven by doctors. And this is very such collaborative platform like your CMRAD platform gives possibility to start feeling this collaborative spirit and this driving spirit. Of course, now it's more humans discussing with each other, but later on probably machines will take part in this discussion, but final word will be by radiologist. And I believe still this is still 5-6 years probably future. But what is your opinion regarding possibility that such platform like CMRAD or other could be included in workstations, like to fastly receive a network from the workstation, just get question, form the question, get answer, and continue discussion? Is you having some discussions already with some vendors of hardware, just to make your platform closer by one click to the doctor?
Absolutely, this is for sure something we're working on. So the whole idea is that the disruption to the standard workflow within a hospital should be as small as possible, even when an external consultation needs to happen to either AI or a network of radiologists or expertise. So we do have, I think it is 3 different technologies for such integrations today. We have a widget-based integration that can be dropped into any web-based PACS system. So we basically, from our service, drop in a widget, and that enables then an immediate exchange with the collaborative forum. We also have an API, of course, and then the final one, which is the Collective Minds proxy, which is really the most disconnected integration, and that's where we install a server sitting next to the PACS system in order to integrate through the standard DICOM protocol. All of these ways of integrating achieves basically that it becomes a one button click in the PACS or in an external solution in order to consult the Collective Minds network. And for sure, our wish is that we can enable this network to become present on more and more desktops as we go forward.
So, and also what I could add about your platform, probably this is also very important hint for all participants, is about standardization. And of course, our role is very simple, I would say, because medical data is quite well standardized if we speak about treatment, because the DICOM is quite good standard because it's quite old and it's already still have some problems for the integration, but it's more handleable. But the descriptions of the patient illness, I know what it's a nightmare for many of years, and people trying to understand how to standardize them. And your approach, I would say, unique because so many users in so short time was able to accept it. So maybe shortly you could also give some point about it and about this, I would say, the description standardization problem, how you see the future.
Yeah, well, I will tell you what we decided to do now, if this is the right approach or or not from a longer term perspective, that's still to be seen. But basically, of course, we see the whole issue of a globally harmonized, standardized, let's say, hierarchical tree of both the human body and potential diagnosis and such terms. So what we decided to do was to really get the best out of the social network community that's already out there, that basically looks at that problem and says, okay, we are probably not the experts, and there is no single expert in the world to build that tree in a perfect way without any particular discussion happening for it. So what we have enabled then is the use of hashtags, but they were a little bit more intelligent than the standard hashtag. So we have what's called the translation engine between all the DICOM metadata into now standardized terms as hashtags. But then also any user can input around any case, new hashtags or reuse hashtags. And then what we hope that will happen over time is that it will become obvious, just like on Twitter or Facebook and so on, which are the terms that most people use and how they are being used. And that way, a lot of, let's say, in a democratic way, decide on how different terms should be used.
Yes, I would say this amazed me, this your idea about this self-growing process, which people trying to understand, and when they understand, they even influence that, and people, it's like with roads. If you make wrong road, so people find the shorter one, and even they go over the grass, and you will need to make their road. So I believe this approach is, in my opinion, I would bet that it will work, and it's working already 2 years. So definitely, I believe this is also a big invention which CMRAD did for medical world, and I hope that in the short future it could be also some standard became to try to report their studies in such fashion.
Hello everyone, and we have only one question by now, so I'm going to read it. Can you elaborate how Collective Minds proxy identify images before transferred to cloud? I guess this one goes to Pär.
Yes, thank you. Very good question. It's probably one of the most common questions we have when we sit down with our hospital customers, to be really sure about. Sorry, was there a follow-up question? I will continue.
Yes, please continue.
So basically the way this works, we begin the process by stripping down the DICOM data according to the DICOM standard itself. So I think version 2017 C has an anonymization protocol built into it, which is our starting point. Then, because we are very early on, we had a discussion, could we ever treat this data as purely anonymous when it's in the cloud? And we quite quickly came to the conclusion there will always be question marks around, could a face be rendered again in a second plane or something like that. So the classification of data when it sits in the cloud is still patient data. It is still medical data, and according to GDPR and similar regulatory frameworks, this means that the data is pseudonymous. It's been minimized and stripped down to the best of our abilities, but we still classify the data as pseudonymous patient data. So that means that we're within GDPR, and we still need to protect the patient data to all the same standards as a hospital system does, which we do. So we apply, those mechanisms and encryptions and all of that. But obviously the risk in handling this data is a lot lower. The third point we do inside of the CM proxy is that we hash, we create what would be called in technology terms a salted hash. So we have a secret key for each hospital. That key is added to certain metadata fields before they are anonymized, and then it's hashed in a one-way process. It's if you want the algorithm, it's SHA-2 512 that's being used. So the outcoming hash is basically anonymous to anyone who looks at it, except if you have two pieces of data. the original, let's say, patient ID, if that was the metadata field that you were hashing, plus the secret key that went into the hashing algorithm. So this also moves along with the data. So from any third party's perspective, the data is really anonymous. Should that data be copied or viewed from any third party, there is really no traceability back to the patient. But from the source hospital, we're allowing full traceability. So the source hospital could come to us and say, we have this patient, he or she would like to have all his or her data removed from both the hospital and any sub-providers. And in that case, we would simply run the hash once more according to the same rules from that hospital, and we can detect all that data and remove it. And the key there is that we never take any legal ownership for the data. It always remains with the hospital. The hospital is the data owner of all incoming data. So that feature or that that setup enables us to fully function on the GDPR.
Yes, I would add also what it gives possibility if some serious findings was founded for patient to get back to the patient and find to which patient the new illness was founded by your platform, and this is also very valuable just to get back who was original patient by this hospital. So I believe this also, and also I would like to add, because I know what Pär, is a little bit shy to say it, but your platform was also investigated many of times by big hospitals for GDPR vulnerability, because this could be a big penalties, and always you pass it all these GDPR rules. So I would say but this your ideas is already proved by the investigators, but this is definitely anonymous data which is stored in the CMRAD platform.
But maybe something to add, which is, I see you, Albert, thanks for your comment. Basically, what happens is that it becomes a balancing game between GDPR and really protecting the patient safety as a medical device. So what we had to do when we built the solution was to think about, okay, let's say the collaborative forum detects or comes up with a diagnosis that hasn't been listed from the discussions within the hospital. Then from a patient safety perspective, we have to guarantee the traceability back to the patient. Otherwise, we could have mix-ups and we could have things like that. So the technology needed to have a full, uniquely traceable way of detecting who was the original patient in order to protect the patient safety, but at the same time fulfill GDPR. And this became sort of the one middle ground that did balance between the two regulatory frameworks.
Maybe I will also ask Pär one question, which probably our partners is shy to ask, because I know that already over the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks we get several questions about it. Is it possibility if some of our partners or people who listen us would like to have for example, information system which we build for different reasons, with transmission engine which you use to transmit data to the cloud, not mandatory anonymous, but our MedDream, and just to discuss with us CMRAD and Softneta for some collaboration. Is CMRAD would be opened, or you just do own clouding and you don't see for the second usage of your technology, which you do primary for the cloud? What is your strategy as a company at this point?
We haven't done that to date, but that again, we're all about, us as a company, we're all about building an ecosystem together with many others, and we're all about collaboration. So why not? Let's have the discussion. But it would really be a first time we're sitting on for a discussion like that. But if the technology is proven useful for others, let's talk.
Yes, so it's mainly what your answer, but you would listen, at least would listen the proposals from the companies which would come and say, okay, we would like to use the CMRAD technology in combination with Softneta for this and this task, and could you advise us, is it possible? So it would be, you at least listen and just advise them, is it possible or not? Yes?
Absolutely.
So agreement from our participant that it's also important for imaging clinical researchers, sponsored by investigators and sponsors.
Thanks for being a part of our webinar and sharing your experience with working with Softneta. So I hope that the participants get good information, good feeling about our collaboration spirit, about our challenges which we're facing with our product development, and I hope good webinars in the future, showing your progress. Good day for everyone, stay healthy, and let's meet in next webinars.